Whenever I think of Robin Williams, I cannot help but smile and feel like I'm a child again, discovering one of his new movies at the movie theater. The thing with Williams is that even though his films are technically comedies, he always managed to carry the emotional moments in his storytelling with a delicate hand. He lies in a fuzzy area of comedy, absurd, and sentimental. Watching his movies always felt like a sort of exploration of the human existence. In his early career, Williams had already flexed his range as an actor, working on serious roles like in Dead Poets Society, but also showing enormous improvisational skills in comedy in roles by playing our favorite extraterrestrial from the planet Orc on the show Mork and Mindy. So it's no surprise that his acting career quickly blew up and he became one of the most influential comedians of the 20th century. This video is the second part in a retrospective looking back at Robin Williams' career throughout the decades and highlighting some of his best work. Be sure to check out the first video if you want to visit his career throughout the 70s and 80s. So without any further ado, let's look at the golden age of Robin Williams. After having an amazing decade in the 80s and literally acting in Dead Poets Society, which is undoubtedly one of the best teen dramas of that decade, it's unsurprising that Williams was setting himself up to be in some of the best movies of the 90s. His filmography does include over 120 credits, so going through all of them would take many videos. After all, we are in an era with short attention spans, so let's focus on some of my favorite highlights of his career. In 1990, he acted in Cadillac Man, which wasn't a big success at the box office, but once again showed versatility and heart coming from Williams' acting. The story revolves around a car dealer named Joey O'Brien, played by Williams, who has spread himself financially thin both from a money perspective as well as his love life. Having taken a loan from the mafia, he is given an ultimatum of 2 days to pay back the debt. In a last-ditch effort to get out of debt, Joey needs to sell a dozen cars from his dealership. Things get even worse when the car dealership is taken hostage by a motorcyclist who believes his wife is cheating on him. In 1991, Robin Williams acted in one of the most bizarre yet mesmerizing movies of the time, The Fisher King. This movie is directed by Terry Gilliam, who is known to make movies with a distinctive look, not only in mise en scène, but even more so by creating a surreal atmosphere of psychological unrest and a world out of balance. Using unusual camera angles, particularly low-angle shots, high-angle shots, and Dutch angles, Gilliam seems to create cinematic worlds that are a blend of hallucination and richness to detail. The Fisher King is similar in this way, where it manages to mix legend with imagination and drama. After a radio broadcaster named Jack Lucas inadvertently provokes a caller into murdering a group of innocent people in a Manhattan bar, he grows depressed and turns to booze. As he's about to hit rock bottom, Lucas meets a homeless man named Perry, played by Robin Williams, whose wife was killed by the caller Lucas pushed to the brink. Mentally scared by his loss, the homeless man spends his days searching for the Holy Grail. When Lucas realizes who Perry is, he pledges to help him in his quest. That same year, Spielberg cast Robin Williams in yet another favorite film of mine from that decade, Hook. Maybe it's the fact that I was 10 at the time, or simply because Spielberg had a way of making me travel through fairy tale worlds, but Hook definitely made me want to remain a child forever, just like Peter Pan. This movie started development in the early 80s and went through various different drafts until finding the director and cast in 1989. Hook tells the story of Peter Banning, played by Robin Williams, who is a middle-aged lawyer who has his young children abducted by his old nemesis, Captain Hook. Peter, being an adult, has completely forgotten about his childhood in Neverland, but in order to retrieve his family, he goes back to Neverland and revisits Tinkerbell and the Lost Boys, which he had abandoned years ago. The movie had very mixed reviews criticizing the screenplay and tone, but at the same time praising the performances and musical score. Hook was a commercial success, but Spielberg said that he was kind of disappointed with it. In 1992, Robin Williams lent his voice to possibly one of his most memorable roles, which was for the character of the genie in Disney's 1992 animated musical, Aladdin. The film's director said that they had taken a risk by writing the role. At first, William refused the role since it was a Disney movie and he didn't want the studio to profit by selling merchandise on that movie. He did accept on certain conditions, stating that I'm doing it basically because I want to be part of the animated tradition and I want something for my children. One deal is, I just don't want to sell anything, as in Burger King, as in toys, as in stuff. Much of Williams' dialogue was improvised and recorded approximately 30 hours of tape impersonating dozens of celebrities. The role of the genie became one of his most recognized and best loved roles, and the film was the highest grossing film of 1992. Again, in the same way that Robin Williams is able to make us laugh, cry, dream, and transport us to different worlds, that same year he acted in a movie called Toys, which had its sets designed by famous designer Ferdinando Scarfatti in order to create a film that literally takes his audience to different planes of imagination. When the owner of a toy factory dies, the deceased owner's oldest child inherits it. Being a lieutenant general in the US Army, he wants to turn the high-tech toy factory into a weapons factory. Robin Williams plays Leslie Zevo, the younger brother of the owner of the factory. Having a more childish personality and not being happy with the direction that the toy factory is going in, he works alongside his other family members and tries to find a way of bringing down the nightmarish empire that is being constructed under their noses. This film bombed at the box office and even received a Razzie Award despite being extremely creative, and once again showing how Williams is able to turn drama into comedy and comedy into something so much deeper. In 1993, Robin Williams acted in yet another classic, which was based on a 1987 novel called Madame Doubtfire. This led to the making of the movie Mrs. Doubtfire, which tells the story of Daniel Hillard, played by Robin Williams, a divorcing man dragging up to get access to his kids. In order to circumvent that issue, with the help of his brother Frank, Daniel dresses up as an older British woman and convinces his ex-wife to hire him as a nanny. Mrs. Doubtfire wins over the children and helps Daniel become a better parent. Obviously, impersonating someone that doesn't exist creates many strange situations that ultimately might lead to him losing his family one more time. Over 30 minutes of deleted scenes were omitted from the final cut of the film, which were later featured in a 2008 DVD release of the film. The makeup for Mrs. Doubtfire's appearance took 4 hours to apply. Williams later recounted how he used to walk through the San Francisco streets dressed in full makeup and costume, and no one really noticed him. The production of the film was in San Francisco, and the family house in the movie became an impromptu memorial for Robin Williams after his death in 2014. Shortly after the success of Mrs. Doubtfire, Robin Williams was able to partake in another project which inspired children throughout the 90s. The movie in question was Jumanji, which was released in 1995. This movie was loosely based on a 1981 children's book by Chris Van Allsburg. Being in an era of 3D breakthroughs in visual effects, this movie combined traditional effects of puppetry and animations combined with state-of-the-art digital effects overseen by ILM. This new method of VFX allowed to recreate realistic facial expressions on computer-generated animals in the movie. As for the story of Jumanji, the story centers on a supernatural board game that releases jungle-based hazards upon its players with every turn they take. As a boy in 1969, Alan Parrish became trapped inside the game itself while playing with his friend Sarah Whittle. 26 years later, siblings Judy and Peter Shepard find the game, begin playing it, and then unwittingly release the now-adult Alan, played by Robin Williams. After tracking down Sarah, the quartet resolves to finishing the game in order to reverse all of the destruction it has caused. In 1996, Robin Williams transformed his identity once again in another movie which became a cult classic in my opinion. This movie was The Birdcage, which was a remake of a Franco-Italian movie called La Cage aux Folles. In this remake, an engaged couple, Val and Barbara, shakily introduced their future in-laws. Val's father, Armand, played by Williams, is an openly gay Miami drag club owner who pretends to be straight and attempts to hide his relationship with Albert, his life partner and the club's flamboyant star attraction, so as to please Barbara's father, who is a controversial Republican senator. What's remarkable about this movie is that even though it was made in the mid-90s, it could have easily been filmed within the past couple of years. Beneath the social satire, The Birdcage is a heartfelt and touching movie. Seeing how Robin Williams is so versatile, it's no surprise that the following year he worked on yet another extremely memorable movie, which was penned by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. The movie I'm speaking about is Good Will Hunting. This role actually earned him an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. The film follows 20-year-old South Boston janitor Will Hunting, an unrecognized genius who, as part of a deferred prosecution agreement after assaulting a police officer, becomes a client of a therapist and studies advanced mathematics. Through his therapy sessions, Will reevaluates his relationship with his best friend, his girlfriend, and himself, facing the significant task of confronting his past and thinking about the future. In many ways, Good Will Hunting is Williams' most acclaimed role, following the father-son relationship between Matt Damon's Will and Williams' Sean, who need one another more than any other two characters in the film. The film demonstrates how flawed and real these two men are, reveals the damage each has and the healing needed. They both find or are on their way to finding real happiness by the end of the film. We don't see them achieve anything grand or discover something life-altering, but the story's purpose is to begin the process. Definitely by the late 90s, Robin Williams had fully transitioned from being a comedian to comedies with drama themes to full-on dramas. So it's not with much surprise that in 1998, Williams acted in a fantasy drama that became the second highest grossing film at the US box office that year. The movie was What Dreams May Come, based on a 1978 novel of the same name. The movie tells the story of Chris Nielsen, played by Robin Williams, who dies in a car accident. He is guided through the afterlife by his guide spirit, Albert. His new world is beautiful and can be whatever Chris imagines. But when his wife, Annie, commits suicide and is sent to hell, Chris ignores Albert's warnings and journeys there to save her. Upon arrival, Chris finds that rescuing Anne will be more difficult than he'd imagined. What Dreams May Come was shot largely on Fuji Velvia film and is one of the few films to have been shot in that manner. The Fuji Velvia film is known among landscape photographers for its vivid color reproduction. Even though the movie grossed extremely well, it did get mixed reviews at the box office. This didn't really stop Williams, as in 1999 he acted in yet another favorite of mine, Bicentennial Man. During pre-production, Disney was concerned about the cost of the film, estimated to be over $100 million. And even though pre-production was underway and sets were already being built, they pulled the plug and halted production. Disney chairman Joe Roth came to an agreement with Sony Pictures Entertainment chairman John Calley to co-finance the film and agreed to split distribution and responsibilities for the film between Touchstone Pictures in North America and Columbia Pictures internationally. The movie tells the story of Richard Martin, who buys a gift, a new NDR-114 robot. The product is named Andrew, played by Robin Williams. The film follows the life and times of Andrew, a robot purchased as a household appliance programmed to perform menial tasks. As Andrew begins to experience emotions and creative thoughts, the Martin family soon discovers they don't have an ordinary robot. Even though the movie didn't do extremely well at the box office, personally I really enjoyed it. Maybe it's because I have vivid memories of watching it as a teenager, but also for the simple fact that Robin Williams once again shows his enormous heart in portraying his character, and somewhat once again reminds us that through emotions, even a robot can turn human and show more love than most human. Well, this concludes the second part of my Robin Williams retrospective. I really hope that you guys enjoyed watching it. Please be sure to subscribe and hit the like button. Leave me a comment too and let me know which Robin Williams movie is your favorite. Honestly, there's a bunch more films that are worth watching from the 90s filmography, such as Being Human, 9 Months, Hamlet, Flubber, and Patch Adams. But going through all of these films would have made the video twice as long. Either way, be sure to check out the third part of this retrospective, which will follow his career throughout the 2000s until his final project. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.